I was in that loop because I'm no longer NEA president. I'm now the president of MSTA.
I gotcha.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to roll call.
Casey Benner,
Here.
Frank Myers,
Here.
Leanne Woodvogel,
Here.
Nicole Boyer,
Here.
Martha Patterson.
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay. Moving on to the approval of agenda for tonight's meeting.
Just motion to approve the agenda.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to the approval of minutes from our last meeting of April 19th of 2021.
I move to approve the minutes from the March meeting. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from April's meeting. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to introduction of evidence.
As per normal, I have the design guidelines and the city ordinances here. There are copies of the staff packets in the center of the table that you received, I believe, last Wednesday.
I move to accept the entry of evidence.
I have a motion and a second to accept the introduction of evidence. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to old business.
I have none.
Okay. We will move on to new business. We will start with SGHC 020-21 to receive a certificate of appropriateness to tear down and replace a shed located in the rear yard at 248 Market Street.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Janice Borden, 248 Market. Shed is in dire need of replacement, and I would like to replace that. The ones we have been looking at are a little larger, but we do are planning to put up a wood, framed, sided shed. It is pretty rough. It's housed a few skunks.
I have no objections whatsoever to building a new shed there. But the whole purpose of our being here is to preserve what we can of the history of the structures as they pertain to the early life of St. Genevieve. Is there any way that the existing shed could be retained? It's not greatly restored, but try to make it waterproof and so that rodents and vandals couldn't get into it, and retain a part of the historic structure of that property. The information that we were given and taken from our manual paints a very strong case for retaining that structure. And as I say, my only concern is not the construction of a new one. I understand that you want a new one and you probably need it or you wouldn't have asked for it.
Sure.
But is there any way that you could have your new one and we could retain for the history the old structure?
There is such limited space available in order to put a shed that, first of all, this structure right here, it has a wooden floor and all of the base of the structure is, rotted because it's on the ground. And the wood, which was the floor of the structure, is all, broken in. And, I don't know that you
No,
can.
all I'm saying is that not only we looked at it over time, but the people that made up the manual checked that thing out very thoroughly and made the recommendation that it should be retained.
Is the existing shed on the ground or is it on a concrete base?
It's not on a base at all, it's on the ground.
Is the frame of the existing building still intact?
No, most of that has deteriorated. You basically have some, right at the front, you have some wood, the front of the frame, but it's all been dug under and then it's, rotted all the way around.
You can tell the support that held the door on is totally gone,
Mm-hmm.
because you can tell the door is just falling off.
Yeah, it's barely on there.
And I think it's a hot mess myself, and I don't see how that could be considered historic. I don't see any signs that it was added to house.
This is Miss Ray's house, right?
Correct.
Now, that's a wonderful old house that you have there. We've had looked at it before, and I know that backyard is tiny. What is the internal frame on it? Is it like 4x4s or
No, I think
posts? Or?
I think it's less than that. It's post, maybe equivalent of a 2x4.
So I would say my objection is not to the new shed. It is that we should consider the information that some very talented people that surveyed this thing made. They made strong recommendations that the building be retained.
I have a page out of the guidelines here on outbuildings. If an outbuilding does not date from the period of significance of the primary structure, then its preservation is optional. And I don't think that's a primary structure. I think that's been added sometime around the turn of the century,
Yeah,
even maybe a little later.
in the description it says it's a shed roof porch extension in the west wall of the house because it's completely detached from the rest of the house, so it's not mentioned in the description.
The house and shed
Oh,
are
I see.
considered contributing structures to the National Register Historic District. And the National Register Historic District are promised that we will maintain that. Is largely responsible for streets and improvement in utilities in the community, for the levee in the community. And I agree, some of it, I look at it and wonder, what in the world is this guy thinking about saying save that building? Because it's bad. But we hired this firm of supposed experts to come in made the surveys and made the recommendations, and they recommended that that building, the house, well, what I read before, but they agreed that the house and the shed should be considered part of the historic district.
Do you have any idea when the shed was built?
No idea.
So none of the records show like, hey, an outbuilding was
Do you have the list?
put up at
of,
some point?
No, I do not know.
It does not show on Sanborn maps. So Sanborn maps that go back to 1894, 1901, 1911, 1929, 1945. In 1945, there is an outbuilding present, but it isn't sitting in that spot.
So post 1945.
Or could this be part of that outbuilding, maybe?
It could be. I
Okay.
am not an architectural historian by any means, but I'm just giving you the information from Sanborn maps.
So I'm going to make a motion that she be allowed to tear that down and replace it with the, she has a picture here of the shed that she wants to replace it with. So I'm going to make a motion that she be allowed to tear that down and replace it.
I'll second.
And the next survey will, done by the professionals in this business, will say, oh, that's a pretty new shed they have there, but it doesn't contribute to the history of the state.
How can this shed contribute to the history is my question. It's a mess. It's falling down. In fact, I would think that that's a wonderful old house. I've been in there, and I think it's even, does not do the house justice.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to approve the certificate of appropriateness to tear down the existing shed and replace it with a newer shed. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Leanne?
Yeah, it only mentions on the register that a shed roof garden shed. Sheathed in cement asbestos shingles is in the rear yard. But it doesn't give a I will agree. I wonder if that little shed would be capable of being moved.
How would you move it if the supports are rotted
Oh,
and the
yeah.
floor is rotted?
I'm thinking if she wanted to just get that out, if someone would move it to another place, but I don't think it would survive that attempt.
I don't think it would survive a move.
Okay, I will agree.
Motion carries 4-1-0. Now, put your certificate in the mail.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, moving on to SGHC 021-21. Confuse me.
Right.
To receive a certificate of appropriateness to construct a wooden fence around the rear yard at 637 North 3rd.
Hi, I'm Kenneth Shaw. Me and my wife bought the house a little bit over a year ago. Used to be the old Idles house next to OK Corral. We have 2 dogs, and I have a 3-year-old son who loves to run into the neighbors' yards. And we would like to build a fence to try to help keep him and our dogs in there.
It would be 6-foot fence in the back part, but like the section between my house and OK Corral is literally like 6 feet. I would like to have 6 feet there, but then next to my carport where I'm running, I'll put like a 3-foot fence, which we'll see more from the road than anywhere. And it will be made out of wood pickets, 2x4s, 4x4s.
And the section between your house and the OK Corral, how tall is, where you planning?
I would like to make it 6 just so it kind of matches and along down the side so it doesn't go from 3 foot to 6 foot and then down. Because it's only, like I said, it's only like 6 feet, 5 or 6 feet.
I do appreciate that you have this drawn out.
I try to draw out the best I can to make it understandable because it's,
Sometimes when people come in for a fence, you really don't know where it's gonna be.
well, Mr. Bova told me, like, if you can try to give us everything we need so it makes it a little bit easier. So I try to draw out the best I can with measurements and everything so you guys understand a little bit better. Just like the back part, it shows that that's an existing fence that the neighbor behind me has,
How tall is that with back fence?
6 foot.
I've never really looked at that little house, but it's a cute house.
It is, it's very cute. My wife loved the front door because it actually has etched glass in the front door and its original door with the doorbell that you turn the knob.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you actually sold her on the house, the door of all things. But
You bought the house.
hey, she liked it, so I was like, whatever you want. As long as she's happy, that's all that matters.
Had glass doorknobs.
Right.
Yeah, I really like the little balusters around the front porch. Those are fantastic.
Well, those on the front porch are actually gone. The Autos took that down at some point. They said that Roger Otto actually cut those out of wood himself, they said. The back porch still has them, but the front porch, they took them down at some point. Which me and my wife were kind of upset. We wish they would have left them because we really did like them from the
Yeah,
pictures.
those
So.
are fancy. I assume you're gonna have gates in there somewhere.
I'll have one gate up in the front, like on the, where the carport is, I'll have one gate there. But besides that, the rest of it won't be gated.
Do we have any additional questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the certificate of appropriateness to construct a wooden fence. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I'm supposed to vote. So used to going to meetings, I
Just
vote.
got your moment.
Sorry.
I'll put the certificate in the mail tomorrow. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You
Sit on
too,
different
sir.
boards, I'm so used to when somebody said that's funny.
That was awesome. I was like a new member.
Bill, next time we have an opening,
No,
Which, I need to talk to you later.
oh, see what's happening. All right, I'm sorry.
I did see a for sale sign in your yard.
Yeah, it went up yesterday.
So we're going to move on to SGHC 022-21 to receive a certificate of appropriateness to replace half-round metal gutters with K-style metal gutters on a commercial structure at 201 Merchant.
I love that building. Good evening, I'll try and get through. I'm suffering with allergies, I think like most of you are, so my voice is kind of squeaky or whatever. So anyway, I want to replace Bill Tlapic, 289 Seraphim Street. Replace the gutters on my building. The ones that are up there now are leaking, and we just had the building tuck pointed, power washed and sealed just recently at a great expense. And the company just said that one of the problems was that the gutters are leaking and causing some deterioration in the mortar joints. So that's, if I may, is it okay if I pass out so that maybe know what I'm talking about in the replacement, if you permit me to do that?
A K-style gutter is.
Well, here's what I did. This is okay, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
So what
There's also here some gutter profiles. So this is a K-style OG gutter that I believe Mr. Tlapic is talking about.
So basically, what I want to do is, I use the old brick. You're familiar with that? This is the type gutter they have, and that's what I'd like to go to. This is the anvil,
Okay.
and this is the type gutter they have, which is the same as this. Okay, and this is right down on Main Street in St. Jim.
Right.
That's the type gutter I want to go with.
Okay, you want to see these?
You did your homework.
So basically what I'm saying is about 99% of all buildings in downtown St. Genevieve use the type gutter I'm going to put up.
And you're going to do something worthwhile.
I didn't either.
What is the shape of the gutter that you're requesting?
They're leaking. We tried that flex seal and all that. You know,
And the flex seal doesn't work.
well, it works, but they're too far.
Because it takes a ton of it to get them all fixed.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to put the type of gutter on the structure that would fill for. That's what the old ones
No,
look like.
no, we're not doing that. No, and this is down
Right.
at the
I'm not recommending you go to that.
Main Street Inn. Right now it's under construction, Susan O'Donnell's building, and
Right.
she just put those up. And that's the type that I'm going to use. This is the Southern Hotel. I did not take a close-up, but it's the same type that I want to use. This, I didn't mean to throw it. This is the Louisdale Commune House over on 190. Excuse me, my voice is. And this is the type gutter that they have, and that's what I would like to use.
I think that's what I've got.
Sure, I
I
can
did
I can
think that,
guarantee you that, this is the courthouse on Main, right here.
Right.
It's not even Main, that is, yeah, it is Main, yeah.
That's Market.
So,
Market.
so anyway, that's the type gutter that they have, that's what I'd like to use.
And I imagine you're going to be doing something in a color that's comparable.
Yes, the color will match. And also, it looks like we're gonna have to replace the fascia boards, again, with wood, of course, because whenever they were doing the gutter man looked at it and he said he's afraid that the gutters are not gonna attach real well to what's up there because they're deteriorated.
That was going to be my next question.
So they'll be
You're not going to have to drill into that rock to
Right.
place them.
No, this will be a fascia, that's wood up there. This is down on, I don't know where Harold's Bees company, building
Market.
company, yeah. And that's what, again, one of the things I found out that a lot of buildings need some work, taking the close-ups. I think I'm pretty well, I think we're pretty well getting my point
Did
here.
you hear that, David?
I did.
This is the Bill Hoffman, they call it the old blacksmith shop. They just replaced those with the type gutter that I want to use.
From Washington. Yeah.
This is the back of this is the back side of the Jean Baptist Valley House. I'm sure you all know that. You can tell by of course, the National Park has that now. This is the back of their building, and that's the type gutter I want to use. And I grabbed a couple of the residents. Those are all commercial. This is Dr. Susan O'Donnell's house, which I think you all know is a beautiful old home, and that's the type they put up. I'm sure you all know Al Kaiser's house. That's the type that he has. That's what I want to put up. I think I'm getting pretty redundant there. So anyway, I'll close with the last one. This is what's on, which is on the Foundation for Restoration building. So I figure if that's what they like, I also would like that.
You've done your homework.
Not trying to be sarcastic.
You've certainly done your homework.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I may steal some of these pictures.
That, of course, that's our building, if you're not
Just
familiar
kidding.
with it. It
Right
looks
across
good
from
now.
Field Valley.
Yeah, we just had this all redone. I mean, tuck pointed and everything.
I think that's
You
the
gonna
only
open a
other
bank?
building in
Huh?
town.
Oh my God.
You gonna open a bank now?
I'll pay the same interest the banks are paying. Zero.
I think maybe we should contract with Bill for a Heritage Commission employee. He can help do some research.
Right? What a good idea. Let's put that in the pot.
Let's put that,
Let's let that simmer.
So, and you know, the thing about this is that what I'm doing, if somebody down the line wants to go back to the half round, anything I'm doing can be, in other words, this isn't changing like a window or a door, it's just replacing the new style gutter, what everybody uses. So you could go back and put the half round if you so desire. So it's not going to change anything other than putting on some gutters that do what they're supposed to do and keep the water off.
But only fastened in new
Well,
fashion.
Yes, ma'am.
I doubt whether it's what was originally on there, but at this stage of the game, to protect the structure, if it needs new gutters, I think we need to take the advice of the owner and the craftsmen in the community. They're saying this is the way to go now, and it appears to be. No one's going to duplicate that antique I dragged out of the bag here. Because that, no, what that was built to do is wooden butters. And you don't do that now. I mean, I can't think that we could expect him to do it. I think we take his advice and his craftsman's advice as to what is the best equipment to use on the structure.
Now, I have seen some old places with the round copper, but I hate to think of the expense of that.
It's, even putting the half rounds on, it's very expensive. And they come in sections, and then they have to be, whatever you want to call it, welded or raised or connected. That's kind of what's happening on the ones that are up there now. The other thing, too, that I'm going to, what we're doing, although I want to replace the half round with what everybody else does, but I am going to go through the extra expense of using the round downspouts because they look a lot better, and that's what you're going to see at eye level. Most people are not going to look up at those gutters. You just don't. But you will see the round.
If they did, it would be like everybody else's.
Oh, it'd be, exactly, and that's my point. But it will be round downspouts because that's at eye level, and it looks a lot better than the square with all the little ridges in it. You can see in some of these pictures that the round will look a lot better.
Thank you.
It cost me a lot more, but I think that looks a lot better on the building itself.
Thank you.
Well, I move that we accept the proposition as presented.
Second.
I promise not to vote.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
It'll be in the mail tomorrow.
First of all, I thank you all for your time, and I also want to thank you all for serving on this committee because I know it's not one of the most favored in the community. And I served in the past on the Board of Aldermen. I also served as the city treasurer at one time. So I know what it's like to do what you're doing. So I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for your service.
Does that mean you're not going to be back on the commission?
You're doing a good job. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to administrative approvals.
There were 3 over the past month. There was an attestation to material replacement for repair on the back porch at 176 North 2nd, and the same address repair on the front porch soffit and fascia. Same materials, same appearance. There was an attestation as to material replacement for the roof at 298 South Gabourey, same materials, and that was non-original materials anyway. And then we had a certificate of appropriateness for a non-contributing structure at 399 North 4th. Mr. Myers was asking, that's if you go up 4th, right before you go down with the skate park on your right, there's a small little house there, kind of built into the bluff. Yes, and they are renovating that. Probably, I don't have the age in front of me. I did look at it. It's probably built about 1980. Maybe 1975, somewhere in that range.
It's tiny. It's a tiny
It's
little
very
house.
small.
It's really snug too, really hidden away.
And it's been vacant for a number of years, so it's good to see it getting refurbished. That's all I have. Any questions?
Okay, moving on to other business.
So this may be my last report, though we still have to submit all of our receipts here in a few months for the historic preservation grant that we received almost a year ago, but it took place this weekend. We had a very good turnout, at least I was happy with the turnout. We had 18 participants on Friday for the classroom sessions. We had a session on selling real estate in the historic district, a session on that brought 2 other national parks to town, George Rogers National Park. They zoomed in Hot Springs National Park. Those are national parks with kind of cities right around them, kind of our version here. So they gave some insight into having the national park in your backyard. So that was some good information. We had a session on historic tax credits, which was great. And we have a local resource for anyone interested in that. And then we had a session on maintaining historic masonry. So it was also a good session. About 18 participants that day. We had 12 participants for our hands-on Windows session on Saturday. It was 8 to 5, so it was a long session, and they all stuck around. It was a good group. Nearly the same group. We had 9 participants on Sunday for wood siding and trim. Lots of positive feedback. I'd say 75 to 80% of the participants all own homes or businesses in the historic district, so it worked out well. Lots of photos on Facebook if you want to take a look at them. We recorded most of the sessions on Friday and hope to make those available. St. John Access TV recorded all day long, Saturday and Sunday, and Charlie, who did the recording, is going to work on paring that down to maybe an hour and a half, so you don't have to watch it all. And we're going to make that available, hopefully on Facebook and on the city's website and on St. John Access TV. Now that may be a month down the road, but it will happen. We also have information we can share out, anyone interested. The vendor who came was named Bob Yap. He was great. He's got his own school in Hannibal, Missouri. He provided us with this window preservation standards book that'll be available here at City Hall, and then a lot of information on repairing wood siding and trim and the materials he uses and how to tell the grain of the wood. I mean, this man is more knowledgeable of wood than anyone I've ever seen. The type of wood, the cut of the wood, the repairs of the wood, the tannins inside the wood, it is miraculous. And then this is the handout on repairing wood windows. So if you have some time, it's 214 pages, but in it also are a bunch of resources, places to order the weights and the ropes that you would need, and all the materials you would need to come as close as possible to restoring the window, in addition to more information on the operation of the window, the wood, and everything you could possibly want to know. I want to thank Bob Yap and his assistant Avery. He brought an assistant, a 17-year-old assistant with him who wants to be the future Bob Yap. I would love to find one of those here in St. Genevieve. If you want to be that person and you're watching tonight, come forward. We would like to know you.
There's everyone here.
Yes.
I'm sure we have a ton of viewers online,
Yeah.
especially young ones.
Yeah, right? Much of the info on preservation is available at bobyap.com through the videos and blog posts. This was made possible through a federal historic preservation grant that flowed through the State Historic Preservation Office. So I just want to thank those folks. And I know, as was mentioned, we have a lot of viewers, but I want to give some thank yous because a lot of people helped out. Audubon's, Jack Dunsey, it was his structure that we tore his window out of his house and then repaired it and put it back. The Deer Defect Committee, who allowed us to use the Moses Austin. It wasn't actually the Moses Austin, it was the house next door. County Fair Board, who lent us the tents that were originally given to the Lions Club. Pat's Patries, Toby Carrig in the Welcome Center, Chris Collins in the National Park System, Hot Springs National Park, George Rogers National Park. Rose Schweikert, who runs the Superior Bathhouse in the Hot Springs National Park, came and participated. She has a 55-year lease for our building inside the park, so she basically renovated the bathhouse and turned it into a brewery. It's very popular. St. John Herald, State Historic Preservation Office, Bob Mueller, who gave some technical assistance and equipment. I appreciate that. Bill Hart, who's one of the presenters, the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, our local street department, who came in clutch. They set the tents up, tore the tents down, and helped me with the bathroom issue yesterday. Bob Yap, the French Colonial America, who let us park in their parking lot. Quintessential River Spice and Tea, which is Brad Moore and Dorothy Haley, who operate a business out of Jack's home and let us walk around their business all day while we were doing our window. And of course, St. John Access TV, and I apologize for the length of that thank you, but it was all due. So that is my report on the historic preservation grant.
Fantastic.
And that is all I have.
Happy, any public comments? No? Okay, we can adjourn.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.